Bruntz, is there anybody on – I'm going to switch gears here on you. Is there anybody in the portal for Nebraska that you would trade for somebody that they've gotten out of the portal?
Let me get my list here.
Well, you got to probably start with Daniels. So
you got
long snapper.
Enwineri, you got Gallick, you've got Daniels.
So somebody that they've gotten that I would trade.
That you would trade back for somebody that's leaving.
I kind of watch. I have to watch Daniels a little more. But I would think maybe somebody along the D line you may swap back out. But they apparently like Daniels quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was curious to see what another year of Jamari Butler would look like.
Fair.
For 25.
We've seen so many though, and I'm a big JB guy.
Yeah, I mean, a healthy year for him. I don't know what that would have looked like.
Yeah.
Maybe another year of Bayer. I mean, it felt like something was happening there, but I do like.
I can't explain
Shavers and what they can do there.
I can't explain this, Bruntz. I really can't, unless I don't know. Maybe like if we're just sitting in the press box over some oatmeal cookies, I could be better. But I don't know why the Bear thing didn't move my needle at all.
Mine either.
I think to myself, I've watched so much, and he's a good player, right? You don't amass that many tackles and not be able to play, but he was so feast or famine.
Yeah.
I don't. But that's really the techie coach in me, right? So this is totally not like this. It's just he just was so boom or bust. It didn't move my needle at all.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I would say that just for next season is as it stands today, I don't know what that picture looks like. Like in terms of do they have three guys right now that you can point to and say this is the rotation at linebacker next year? That would be the only thing, because I think there's I think there's possibilities there, but I think in terms of proven production, Steph Thompson leaving didn't really move the needle for me at all. But
you want a guy that if this was a drug, right, and you could give an "I believe in me" pill to someone, I believe in me, you could will yourself into existence. You know who I would give that to for Nebraska, Bruntz?
Who's that?
Michael Booker Jr. Book has all the fit. If you just watch Book for 20 minutes of practice, you'd be like, this dude is incredible. Watch him on special teams. He's a demon. But he's got a lot of his dad's good nature, super easygoing. I wish he thought better of himself as a player than everybody else. Because I'm telling you, physically, that dude is as gifted as anybody they have. And that's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I would just be curious to see if he could evolve. I mean, it's a long shot, but just this whole development thing and kind of young guys and now having a chance to be the guy, Booker's got a ton of ability.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the one spot that I have just a little bit of trepidation about going into next season.
I hear you.
Because asking a freshman to come in and man that position right away, that's a tall ask. And
I don't think they'll do that, Bruntz.
No, I don't think so either. And I do think though, I think you need three. I've liked the way that they've rotated.
Yeah.
I like the way more so that they did it in 2023 than maybe 2024. But I just don't know that they have three right now that I'd be like, okay, this is a group that I could roll with for 12 games and feel good about.
Yeah, I just don't, contrary to popular belief, I don't think there's a young guy that they recruited on that could play on the inside next year.
Yeah.
I just
No,
don't.
that's fair.
I don't. It's a hard position. It's very demanding, and it's not easy in this defense. Got to be a dude. Let me ask you this, Bruntz, as you're kind of looking at what Nebraska's doing in the portal with visits, and they've kind of lost out here on a couple of guys late, because it seems like the same, pick a number, 75 or 100 guys are being courted by the same schools. Do you get that sense, or is Nebraska going to be one of those teams that can still, and I know Coach Rule hates this term, but kind of diamond in the rough it?
Are you suggesting they're bargain shopping? Is that what you're saying?
I
Going to the $5 DVD bin. Is that what they're doing here?
Yes, they are the Shane Schillenbergs of college football. No, I do think they want to be efficient. I think they want to be very fiscally savvy.
Yeah, I think your point about, especially like the first wave of guys that went in the portal, there's very much a feeding frenzy around. I'd say it's probably a little bit more than 75, but like I think you're right there, where it's like these are the guys that the second they hit probably before they hit the portal, they've got all sorts of opportunities and offers, and people are throwing really big numbers around, and I think Nebraska is going to be smart in its approach. I think they're also going to swing for the fences when they have the chance to swing for the fences. I mean, when you just kind of look at the needed offensive tackle, they're bringing in very well sought after tackles to visit. I mean they've been really aggressive there, and I think Nebraska can do that. I do think I think a lot of schools are kind of figuring out that there's a little bit more value, even if a guy played at a FCS school or a lower FBS, that there's a ton of value in production, and I think that's kind of been the lesson in some ways of the portal as it's gone along, is you kind of need to value that if you expect some bang for your buck, rather than a guy that's been at an SEC school that never played or something like that. I mean, if you're taking a guy like that, it's probably because the tools are off the charts, or there's some kind of traits that you feel like you can really bring along. So I do think Nebraska's being fairly prudent. I think though that they're being very calculated in who they're bringing in. It's been this kind of steady drumbeat of 2 guys here, or 3 guys there, and I think that's a good approach to it. And I like the way that they've also done it, where it doesn't feel like it's like this big show. It's just we're doing bowl practices. This is how we work. Come check it out. You can talk dollars and cents over here and all that stuff, but I'm kind of curious to see kind of where this goes. And I mean, you still have all the playoff teams that are going to have guys hopping in. I think there's going to be, another kind of a little bit more robust round maybe in the spring than what there was last year as teams cut down. So, I think a little bit of conservative approach to it's okay for the most part.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Bruntz, do you think it's possible that you mentioned the home run swings and kind of being a little bit more conservative? You think it's possible they've looked at the landscape of what's going to be in the portal sometime between now and July 1st and said, hey, we can add depth pieces later because there's going to be guys just out there with nowhere to go. We might as well take the home run swings now.
Yeah, well, and I think, Sierra Wright's a good example of that, right? Like, one of your best cornerbacks this year towards the end of the season wasn't even on your roster in June, So I think there's always going to be guys like that pop up, and certainly, Nebraska's shown, whether it's high school recruiting or portal recruiting or whatever, that they're more than willing to, really look under every rock and find guys that, can help them. So I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know that anybody really has this kind of setup right now in 2024 and 2025 with the portal figured out. I think everybody's kind of going along, seeing what works. I mean, there's certainly the Texas Tech approach with what they're doing right now.
Kind of weird. They must got some resources.
Yeah, the energy markets must be doing pretty well, I guess. So
lot of land, man.
You know, the tortilla futures are through the roof. Yeah, I do think that. I mean, you got to take your swings now because I mean there are needs. I mean, like Nebraska needs tackles. They need wide receivers, and you're going to have to take your swings now, but kind of know that maybe there's going to be stuff down the road too, to where you don't need to kind of just go crazy right now if you don't feel like the guys that are out there are going to fit you.
Bruntz, as you kind of look at, let's shift to players that are actually on this team on bowl prep as we come up close to a week out. We'll hear from some of those guys today. Is there, as we assume a lot of young guys are going to play in roles, expanded roles that we haven't seen from them yet, is there a guy or group of guys that you're particularly interested in watching in the Pinstripe Bowl, or do you not? Do you think you can learn something from this for some of the future guys?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I think if you think of the bowl game as more of the first game of 2025 and not the kind of punctuation on 2024, I think there's a lot that you can kind of look at in this game to, see what it's going to look like for next year. I mean, I'm sure that for those young defensive backs, these bowl practices have been pretty darn important. That group is going to be turning over a lot going into next year. I'm curious to see if we see any of those guys in the bowl game, just based on guys who've left and need and who's around. I mean, I think you're going to get a much different picture at the defensive line. More of a featured role for Riley Van Poppel, even though he's kind of been the short yardage guy. I'm curious to see what that looks like. And so that's kind of where, my eye goes for now. I mean, I think the other thing, not player wise, but I mean, what does this offense look like with basically a month to prepare for this game and try different things and kind of mold the offense a little bit more to the personnel rather than, Dana Holgorsen kind of running off of an old play sheet and kind of trying to make it work. I mean, I think that's kind of intriguing for this game as well. So I think there's a lot of reasons to watch this game. I mean, it's funny, like everything right now is just portal. And, the reality is you've got a game that's going to be kind of intriguing because for teams like Nebraska that were really old at certain spots in 2024, because of guys leaving and everything else, I think you're going to get a look at some guys that are going to be really important next season.
Are you surprised or you like it or whatever? What do you think when you hear Nebraska staff and their coaches say things like, we had a really good developmental practice at this stage of the season?
I mean, that's the point, right? Like that's what you've been missing for what, 105 practices that you've missed out on?
I don't know. Yeah, some people around here, it's overblown and not that big of a deal, but
yeah, I mean, it's for those young guys, it matters. I mean, if you basically have, for the first couple of weeks, we're not having the old guys in there doing much and really kind of doing the developmental stuff, that matters. I think probably in the portal era too, it helps keeping those young guys engaged with kind of what the future looks like and where they fit in and all that other stuff. So, I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, we'll see if it plays out on the field, but I mean, I think when you just kind of think of the sheer number of opportunities for development and coaching and everything else that this program's missed out on since this bowl streak's happened, I mean, it's kind of remarkable. And I understand, like, most every practice isn't going to be perfect and not, completely valuable or whatever, but like that's just crazy that programs around the country have been practicing and getting better that much longer than Nebraska has. And, by this time, most years guys have been already heading home for Christmas and all that other stuff. So it's a big deal. It really is. I don't think it's overselling that.
What do you think happens with Zay Hunter from Cal?
I think Nebraska's in a good spot for him. I mean, it's what K-State and Nebraska. He's the kind of guy that I think Nebraska. I think they had those types of guys last year, but weren't really able to take advantage of.
He was really good against SMU. I know they got blown out, but he was productive, and that was pretty recent. I think that was the 30th, maybe, whatever November, the last November.
Well, it's the production thing. I mean, he's been productive at another stop. He's still young in his career, so I don't know. I mean, I guess to be like a strong rotational player type starter player in an offense run by Dana Holgorsen. That seems like a pretty attractive thing, I would guess. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think Nebraska really likes him. I think he's a little bit different than the other wide receivers who have visited so far, especially Rivers that ended up at Georgia Tech. So,
isn't that something?
How different they are?
Just how quickly he decided on like that night. It was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, I think he graduated yesterday and signed with Georgia Tech. So big day over there. But that's just how it works, I guess. But I think Nebraska's in a good spot, with Hunter. So we'll see what happens.
Bruntz, I don't want to put you on too much of a spot here, but are there obviously we know the names of a lot of the guys that have visited Nebraska over the last few days. You mentioned some of the offensive tackles. Is there a guy that you feel particularly good about Nebraska landing that hasn't committed yet?
Idaho, maybe?
The D-back, Marshall?
Yeah, Marshall.
I don't know, though.
That one still feels a little early.
You're right. Yep. Team Bruntz there.
I mean, I think Hunter's I think they're in a good spot for Hunter. I mean, you look at what they have to offer. I mean, I think they're going to at least get a good swing at it. So, and anytime you're kind of down to the last two, you like those. You like the coin flip, I guess. But we'll see.
Yeah, Keegan and those guys are in the portal now at K-State. There's there's availability.
Yeah.
That's our guy, Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Bruntz, hope you have good holidays with the fam and everything like that. We will talk to you again soon.
You're the man, Bruntz.
All right, see you guys.
See you.
Yeah, take care.